Welcome, everyone, back to the U.S. Indoor Know Your Game podcast. I'm James Hargrove, Communication Director for U.S. Indoor. And in today's episode, titled, as you can see in the description, Building Community Through Family, Fun, and Sports. This is certainly not the first time we've talked about this, but this is the first time we've had such, I guess, a reputable and esteemed and knowledgeable individual on this topic, amongst many other topics. Someone that most of you probably know or have met if you've come to any of our conferences. Mr. Don Crowe from Arena Sports. Don, welcome aboard. Great to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, James. Appreciate you doing this for the industry. I think it's really a great thing you guys are doing. And again, once again, something more U.S. Indoor is bringing to the table. It's awesome.
Absolutely. And Don, we do appreciate you being here. Again, for most of you who know us and know U.S. Indoor and have come to our conference, remember that Don was recently inducted into our Hall of Fame, representing his long-standing membership, relationship, and friend of U.S. Indoor. So we appreciate him joining us today to essentially share his journey, his career journey, industry journey. He wore a lot of hats, still does, has founded, co-founded, supported several major organizations in our industry, just to name drop a few: Lil Kickers, Dash, onwards up to Arena Sports, and spreading that from a single location up to 5 and beyond eventually. So Don, let's go ahead and start our conversation, and let's have we'll call it a quick overview as your role and CEO and founder of Arena Sports. And in doing so, feel free to I'll let you decide how far back you want to take us, but kind of walk us through your entrepreneurship journey. And again, go as far back as you like. We talked off camera about your background in soccer, your background as an accountant, but if you could, just give us that sort of journey in your experience throughout our industry.
Sure, yeah. So I can go back. I defected from Canada when I was 2 years old, so that talk about that. No, I grew up in the whole Seattle area. I went to University of Washington. I got my CPA. Worked in Arthur Andersen public accounting for a couple of years, which was a fantastic business residency, if you will. Thrown to the wolves in lots of different industries. Was recruited out of there to go into a telecom startup back in 1990. Then was recruited out of that to go to be a CFO of a wealth management company. Did that for a few years, and just to understand that money doesn't make you happy, for sure. There's a lot of really rich people that aren't happy, that are just miserable sons of bitches. Anyway, he then went back into telecom and was the CFO of a company called Icon Communications back when deregulation of the Bell systems opened up a lot of new opportunities. So I learned a lot there. And one of the things I found, I was the number 2 guy in the company, and really loved the leadership role, being a part of a growing enterprise. And so when we sold that company in 1998, my wife and I really wanted to start our own business. And weren't sure exactly what to do, but I played soccer my whole life, never very high level by any means, as anybody who's played with me or seen me play would attest. But I just loved the game, and I met so many friends, and it was just such a big part of my life that I thought. I played indoor soccer and loved it. It was just a fun element, outdoors fun, pickups fun. Indoor was just a new, fun activity. And so I said, but the centers around here were just really mom and pop and poorly run. And I said, there's a better way to do that. And so Karen and I started, looking into it, and got a lease of our Redmond location, and started from there. And that was back in 1998. SoDo was actually opened by Kent Gold, who was a Boeing engineer and got his MBA, and he started that first arena, but he was losing money, even though he was turning teams away. And it was one of the classic examples of somebody who doesn't understand how to run a business, really. He had a lot of good passion, same as me. And so we put the business kind of together, and we kept the name Arena Sports, and went on from there. It was really easy to fix his problems in that, you raise your prices, because rather than turn teams away, you raise your prices to the point where, it balances out, where you're getting about as many teams as you can take. And we also added the membership program, which a lot of our people in our industry have added since then. And that really wasn't my idea. It was Jan Eric Nordmos. He was doing it down in San Jose, another big, icon in the industry. And actually goes back to the days of Costco, which started here. And they were, I actually met John Sinegal, the founder of Costco, back in the 80s when I was at business school. And he said, yeah, people make the decision to buy or sell on the price of the mustard, and not on the membership. So their whole model was to price things at cost, fully loaded cost. And charge a membership, and that was their profit center, was the membership. So we did the same thing, and again, there was a little pushback from customers, but we've been doing it now for 25 years, 28 years, and it's a great revenue stream. So we added that in, and then I got, lucky in so many ways in life. My wife has a master's in child development, and so she came in and took our little kids soccer program, which again was called Lil Kickers at the time, but it was designed by a soccer guy, and she changed the whole approach to be about child development. What's best for the child at these very impactful years early on, and along with adding in the brilliance of Ty Renninger and Gene Hogan and the team of how do you make that the curriculum be founded on what's best for the child, not what the parent wants, and turned it into a program that really took off. It turned what we used to say, it turned our downtime into prime time. What used to be dead time or very low generating times of the day and the week, where all of a sudden we were making a couple $1,000s an hour on the field because of how many more kids you can get on the field and everything. And so that was the foundation of what's now the Lil Kickers franchise business throughout the country. And the only other thing I'll add was that, thanks to my background in accounting, and when you're in a smaller business like our telecoms, marketing is a huge element. I always downplayed the importance of it, but marketing is everything before and after the assembly line is a common term, and it's understanding what customers want, how to sell it to them, how to communicate that message, how to get them aboard, and then on the assembly line, you make the product, and then you learn to package it, sell it, and get customer feedback and treat your customers. That's all part of marketing. And in our world, what happens on the field is also marketing. You want to have good referees, good coaches, good quality lighting, good quality fields. So that's kind of the whole element of it. And a big problem back in the day when I got involved, there was no good software platform. Nobody was tracking every player that stepped on the field. And so we got to know this. The tendency back in the day was to just keep track of the team manager in an Excel spreadsheet, if even that. A lot of guys just wrote it on a tablet, on a piece of paper. But I'm like, no, anybody who even comes in for one day of drop-in is a soccer player, and they may have kids that want to do soccer. And so we developed our own software at the time. And luckily, we have a lot of tech guys in this area, and guys like Anthony Tippett, who was, again, the first guy I hired to Dash. He had said, let's put this on a lamp stack, which is a web-based platform that and later on Facebook was founded on. And because he did that, we were able to then quickly turn it into a business as I got to know great operators like Pete Spanos and Betta and Mike Garrett at Soccer Zone. He's now at Let's Play. And they were like, can we use your program to run our businesses? Because they had multi locations, and that really spurred starting that business. So we stumbled into a lot of good solutions and are lucky to have met the people we did along the way. So that's my Reader's Digest version of how we got here.
Absolutely. I know people listening are probably, their heads are just swimming around like, I know Lil Kickers, I know Dash, I know Arena. I didn't know they were all connected in that way, via your endeavor. So I think that was a big eye opener for a lot of people listening. As you consider all three of those and how they kind of melded themselves together into, what you're doing with Arena Sports, and Arena Sports has been in operation, as you mentioned, well over 2 decades now.
This is our 30th year.
Yeah, and longevity in our industry is not something that everyone can boast. I mean, indoor facilities come and go for a number of reasons. You kind of mentioned some of it earlier about just having a passion is not enough, in our industry. You got to have the know-how. You thankfully came with some sort of foundational knowledge through accountancy, through your wife, having her master's in early child development, and leveraging that to do something, dare I say, innovative in our space, and developing programs, not just for the sake of having the program, but having that developmental aspect to it. Like, people that come through it not only have fun, but they're enriched in some way. And I think that's an excellent model to run any business on, is not just keep it one prong, but have multiple facets of positivity for things that people can gain when they go through said programs. Let's talk about what sparked the idea originally for Arena Sports. When you were first, concocting it or thinking about investing toward it, what was, I guess, the big draw to you personally? What made you, what initially prompted you to want to even take that leap?
Yeah, I had loved playing the indoor soccer game. It was just so much fun off the boards. I mean, I was a fast, thick-headed, thick-skulled, thug, and so I got put in defense all the time. So I never got to score, but I got to score a ton of goals playing indoor. That was always fun. Mm-hmm. So, and the operators around here were very mom and pop and poor service, and just, I saw that there was a lot of opportunity to do it better. And that's really all it was like, this is fun. More people should be playing this. How do we get in there and make it a better experience? Do what's best for the customer, not what's best for the owner operator. So it was nothing more than that.
Absolutely. And when we talk about getting into this space, into our industry, an indoor sports facility, a lot of our members come with a soccer background or with a sport background, even upwards of, dare I say, or near Olympic level, and they think just because I was good at this sport, I can run and operate an indoor sport facility anchored on that sport. And we both know, in fact, a lot of people listening know that that's not always the case. You got to have some complementary knowledge about running a business. So in your experience, what would you say are one or two attributes that someone would have to have beyond just a passion for sport or a background in sport before they even thinking about breaking ground or starting an indoor facility?
Yeah, well, I would liken it to, just because you like to eat good food doesn't mean you should open a restaurant. It's a business. So you have to go in and really be humble and understand that you don't have all the right answers. And just because you liked something doesn't necessarily mean you can run the business in that industry. So you have to be a student of the game, student of the business game. You have to be thirsty for knowledge. You have to be ready to do every single job there is out there. And you're not going to be right most of the time. And you have to be willing to change and shift gears. I mean, if you looked at our original business plan to where we were today, a totally different business model. And that's okay by me. I'd also say you need good people around you, and arena sports is what it is today, not because of Karen and Don, but because of this whole family of people we've got in here. And I guess that's been my best attribute, was I've been able to identify some people with some amazing abilities and put them in the right place to succeed, because they've come up with where we are today, not me. So that's the thing. I mean, it's a business. It's different than a sport or an activity. You really need to take that to heed. And I would say one of the biggest problems in all businesses is that people don't understand the financial reporting, and they not only don't understand it, they often have crap financials, so they don't even know what it's reporting, even if they could interpret it. And I liken it to, you wouldn't go to a doctor that has test results that aren't accurate, and then the doctor doesn't even know how to read those results, right? It may say, oh yeah, you don't have cancer, but if you have cancer, you still have it and you're going to die. So you want to get something that's going to tell you accurately if you have cancer or not. And then I see that in our business and a lot of different businesses. One of my jobs in the wealth management world was I call it a financial janitor. I would go in and help clean up some of these private investments that some rich people had. And every time I did, the problem was their financials were crap. And so once you got accurate information, it was telling you your business is dying. So, that's why you're losing so much money on it here. So anyway, that's a little bit long-winded way of just saying it's a business. And so you have to treat it as a business, not as a passion.
Absolutely. And speaking of passion, we talked about your passion with soccer and how that had an influence. It wasn't the only thing you leaned upon in order to, garnish your success. But as arena has progressed, evolved, it's not just soccer. It also, you guys boast a very impressive FEC model. For those listening, FEC, Family Entertainment Center model. That's something you guys have embraced, wholeheartedly. A lot of people try to get into FEC. We've had two other podcasts and speakers talking about the growth and the trending of FECs. But from your experience and how you guys have evolved that, what prompted you to even consider going into FEC and sort of splitting your bandwidth from, sports, soccer, and going into that? Did you see someone else doing it and you're like, I could do it better? Was it just a completely, out of the dark idea? Hey, let's just try doing this. What was the genesis of employing FEC into arena?
That's a good question. Yeah. So we got dipped our toes into that water with the inflatable playgrounds. When we have downtime during the week and you're trying to get Lil Kicker families in, what's going to make it more fun? And we bought some of these inflatable playground equipment, the slides and the bounce house and stuff. And we put them on our fields while Lil Kickers is going on. And we saw that not only did that enhance the experience for those families that were coming in at those times, it brought in a whole lot of other people that would come in for that experience that weren't necessarily soccer. And then they would see the soccer going on. Oh, hey, our kids could do that too. So it was not only, it was experiential, it added a little bit more, revenue at the time, but it also brought in a whole nother swath of people that hadn't heard about us otherwise, or may have, but never thought, well, we aren't soccer. And then they get in and they see, well, these are more, this is not just, coaches screaming at kids to dribble through the cones properly. It was really a fun activity. So that combination just really sparked my interest in it. And it demonstrated it was that the family entertainment was more than just a revenue stream. It was an experiential, it heightened our brand, and was a huge marketing tool. So that's kind of how we first got started. And then guys like Alan Hastily in North Carolina and Evan Miller had added that into their mix of businesses in North Carolina. And so I saw it kind of go to another level. So really, to see guys that made it work early on, where those are the two guys at Sports Connection that helped see how this could all come together. And so I would say those guys were the inspiration for it more than anything.
Very good. And when it comes to FECs, as opposed to any other activity you could be doing under a roof, rock climbing, soccer, any of the other sports, were there any, I guess, insurance risk or things in that space that you had to consider? Because a lot of people don't want to pick up new things like FECs because they think, oh, the insurance risk is going to be too high, or I've never even done that before. Maybe it's just, outside my wheelhouse and I don't even want to focus on that. What would you tell the people who might have these reservations about injecting an FEC into their facility?
Yeah, having a partner like Mark Grossman at Monument, and he's at US Indoor. I mean, it definitely, I talked with him a lot about those kinds of things, and Mark and Chris Fox, they're fantastic resources for those in terms of the risk side. And then, getting out there and understanding that business more. It took us years to get to the point where we said, yes, we can do this in this new market. So, I think anything that you're trying to add, provide, is going to have risks, but when you see what the end results are, you can definitely go in and intentionally mitigate those risks throughout the way. And again, I had great people, Takashi Shikupo on our team, Brian Graff. They were helpful to kind of figure out, help me integrate, how's this going to integrate well, and how are we going to do it on day-to-day operations. And then, we got to a point where we're like, yes, we want to do this. We don't have all the answers, but we're going to figure them out as we go. We're going to be building this plane as we're flying it to some degree. And because we had a really strong group of people around, I didn't worry about that too much. And then nowadays you got, Pinnacle, Norm Gill and Gary Lindsay on their side, and you got Jason Clement and Eric Sullivan on the Sports Facility Advisory. They've also now kind of institutionalized that consulting side of things. So the industry now has figured it out to a great degree and has people that can help anybody out there that wants to do it, get it into their facility. We don't do consulting on our side. So, but those guys have also been partners. I mean, this is one of the great things about US Indoors. You get to spend time just having coffees and chatting with these guys. And we've all collaborated together to figure this stuff out and how this is going to help our whole industry, move to a whole nother level of entertainment. So, it's not just me or my team. It's really an industry collaboration that we get to do because we're part of this organization. So that's what I would tell anybody new. Don't just wing it. You don't need to anymore. Invest in some of these other guys that have seen it succeed and fail. It's not a guarantee either. To your point, it's a risk. And so get people to help you make those decisions.
And sort of conversely, what would you say was the biggest challenge when you started to incorporate FECs into your business model? And, how did you overcome those?
There are a lot of them. Marketing is one. It's a whole different animal to market it. A lot more broad-based marketing. And I had a really good marketing team, and I still do, Kelly and her team. So that was helpful. You have a whole different demographic coming in. People just walking in, right? You gotta have good food, which we didn't really worry about too much in just the soccer side, because like we did 5,400 birthday parties last year between our facilities, and just like anything, it's you're trying to get return business, you're trying to get referrals from that, so you got to provide a fantastic experience. It takes a lot more labor, different level of labor, different systems are involved, so it is a different business than our sports business. So just be ready for that. But it's also not super complicated. It's serving the customer. Our mission is to surprise and delight our customers, so we're the go-to place to play. And we try and do that in Lil Kickers, in our leagues, in our camps. We want to delight our customers. We want to surprise them by good food and good quality and good connection, clean facilities, right? That's one that's really critical. So there's a lot of infrastructure investment and maybe doing things a little bit different than you do in just the sports side, because it is a service business, and that's it. And And so keep your eyes open and be willing to learn and be willing to be wrong. So, but we did figure out a lot of things along the way, and even Dash was great in adding some features in, so we could do all those parties, book them online. Anybody who's not using the online booking tools for parties and rentals and stuff from Dash is, you're spending way too much of your manpower to get it done, and your customers these days really want to go that route. So I would dive deep into your resources, to your solutions that you have, and you want to leverage those as much as you can. And now Brian Graff has got us, all our inbound phone calls are handled by AI with Hey Libby, and it has been a fantastic addition too. So there's more and more happening out there. I would just say, be ready for change.
Absolutely. In fact, the two themes that I'm hearing in this conversation is innovate and automate. Think of new ideas, embrace them, and once you lock in on a reasonable idea, not only put effort into it, but learn how to help systems work for you. Like in the case of Dash, automate things. Everything doesn't have to be on pencil and paper or any other antiquated method. Embrace the change, embrace the where technology is taking us. What would you say in the FEC when it comes to attractions recently? What would you say are some of the big draws? What should people consider who are like, all right, you sold me, I want to do an FEC in my facility. I don't know are inflatables enough? Should I consider arcades? Are there things that you encountered that at first glance or on paper look great, but in practice, maybe not so much? And were there any surprises in terms of attractions you thought you didn't think much about it, but once you started using it, you were like, whoa, this was a game changer for us? Was there any of that in your experience?
It's really, you got to be careful because what attractions work in one place may not work in another, depending on what's going on out in the marketplace. So it's not a simple thing. Laser tag has been a great one because you can have parties, group events, corporations can use it. That one's the one that I would say is foundational. We have in some places, bowling is really big, like Allen and Evans bowling was really strong, but we had a 40-lane bowling down the 5 miles away, and so bowling in ours has not been as good. Ropes course has been fantastic, but you got to have enough ceiling height. So it really, it's dangerous to say there's one or two things. Escape rooms has been good because they can, Creative Works has these little smaller escape rooms, and so you can tuck them in places. But it's an ever changing thing, and it's different location by location. The Plex, I was just down on the Plex in San Jose, and they have a fantastic facility. If anybody's down there, you got to go by and see Robert and Jim and see their place. But their inflatables hasn't been that good, but ours has been home runs. So I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's nicer weather there and people go to the outdoor playgrounds or not. I'm not sure. I don't have an answer. So
right.
But they're smart in that they've tried some things that haven't worked, and so they pull them out and put them else in, and you got to be ready to do that too. So I think it's dangerous for anybody to say, oh yeah, you have to do this. Anybody that tells you that, I would be suspicious about anything else that comes out of their mouth. Arcades, obviously, I think if anything are the easiest because they don't take anybody to run them. You're using the little like debit card things, but they take a lot of maintenance. So you got to have in-house maintenance, and they're not cheap.
Right. And they're not unusual. I mean, I think nowadays you can go to almost not just indoor sports facility, you can go to any bowling alley, or you're going to have an arcade there. So it's not different, so to speak. And I like what you were saying about just do some modest research in your area. If you want to have a climbing gym in your facility, do a 10-mile radius search and say, are there other indoor rock climbing facilities near me who specialize in this, who might, be a direct competitor to us and, have our program, not do so well. So yeah, I think that's a wise nugget of information there. I would like to talk about what the future holds for you and for Arena. Obviously, I know you guys talk about this behind closed doors, but what's our 3-year vision? What's our 5-year vision? But in a nutshell, what would you say are some things that you guys are excited about? Maybe in the next couple of months and/or years that you guys are leaning into and are excited to have take place.
Well, one of the biggest right now is Lil Kickers. We just brought on the Lexington USL team as a franchisee, and we've got so that's opening the doors in the pro sports world. We have a partnership here with the Sounders, and so we're seeing the pro organizations really embracing what we're doing on the Lil Kickers side, and they're behind it 100% to get more soccer families in. And so I hope that's going to help all our Lil Kicker franchises kind of get through some of the maybe pushback from local soccer guys. Hey, if the pros are doing it, maybe we should too. And yeah, this is the right way to do it. And you see more and more of these clubs trying to run 4 and 5-year-old programs, but they're throwing their worst coaches at it, and they're just trying to harvest that 1 or 2 kids that maybe have some good potential, and toss the rest to the side. So hopefully this will really help us all, whether you're a Lil Kicker family or not, really get connected to the highest levels of the sport in our world. And it's exciting for Karen and me, because our 3 daughters were all soccer players, but they, as we say, we were all D1 students, D3 athletes, so they didn't ever play in college, and they probably wouldn't have stuck with soccer had it not been founded on such a fun activity like Lil Kickers. And so I want to see more and more of that. I want to get kids more into sports, more active, away from their phones, connecting with other kids. There's a thirst for that because of people are spending so much time on their apps, their social media, and those things. They need to connect with the real person. And sports, whether it's soccer or any other sport, is a fantastic thing. And that's what I experienced growing up, and I want more and more of that. So that's a big thing I think can really help springboard that, and connect us more and more to the U.S. youth soccer organizations. Again, I think now that we've really honed in the family entertainment component of our sports, we're going to be looking for more places to expand, and I hope that more people out there are going to take that approach as well. And I'm just excited. We're still at the forefront of what our industry can do, in my opinion. And I think more and more that we all collaborate on this and do things like you're doing here, James, is really going to help us all. And again, I owe a ton of credit to where we are today, because there was a U.S. indoor that we could go and meet face to face, have coffees, beers, collaborate with, fail together. I swear there isn't any big thing that I've done in our business that I haven't called Pete Spanos and John over at Veta Sports, Mark, his team, Gary Lindsay and Brian Lofton over in Chicago. I mean, this connection we've had across the country has been phenomenal. And now you're getting guys like Canlan involved, the public company in the ice business. Joey St. Aubin is one of the best thinkers in our industry that I've ever met. And to get him involved in these discussions, and his team is just phenomenal. I'm just so excited about where we can go together.
Absolutely. And, I'll take this opportunity to sort of plug our conference. I mean, I've been with US Indoor for 4 years now, and I've been to 4 conferences, and each time I go, I'm pleasantly amazed by the camaraderie, the networking, just the willingness of people, whether you're a first comer or someone who's been coming for 20 plus years. There's no sense of, at least I've noticed, any egotism or, oh, the new guys, and trying to shield you. No, it's a lot of handshakes, networking, conversations that happen mostly at our social events, but even in learning sessions. So I think that's a really big a positive aspect to our conference, and why people should come is, if you've never been to one, come to meet Don. Come to meet anyone you've seen in any of these podcasts, because 99% of them have been to our conference. And it's almost a no-brainer. So with that, Don, I know you're going to be there next year as well in Reno, representing Arena as well, and maybe potentially speaking. We don't know yet, but potentially speaking. But for those listening who want to know more, who want to learn more, and maybe even connect with you directly, how might they do so? What email can they reach out to, and/or phone number?
Well, Crowe@arenasports.net. That's the best way to go. I don't answer a lot of phone numbers that come in I don't know, so phone is the best. I mean, I don't understand why everybody in the industry doesn't go to US Indoor. I honestly don't, and I'm not trying to plug you guys. I'm just saying we are so lucky to have it. And what's funny is you go and you sit around these sessions, and I know, because of my years with Dash and Lil Kickers, who the best operators are. When they walk out, they've got a notebook full of notes. And some of the guys that are struggling didn't even bring notebook. They already have all the answers. I'm like, are you crazy? You got free consulting around here. Just go buy somebody a beer. It's incredible. Let's play. Tom Higginson kind of got this whole industry started years ago, and he was so open. He used to have a blog. He put out all the stuff out there. It was just, it laid the foundation for sharing in our industry, and Gary Archer and Lee with Let's Play. And they, they're great people around. And I know you'll find Lee at the bar if you're ever looking for him. So you just gotta go. He'll buy you a drink. I don't know. I mean, I just don't understand why people don't make it the priority of the year. And it's so much fun, and it's a great place. We take a lot of people to reward great work to us. It also, they learn a lot when they're there, and they also learn that they're pretty good at their job. And I think that's really helpful too. So there's so many different components of it. And I know US Indoor, you and Chuck are doing a lot of more, reach out and and providing some resources to people. I don't know. I think people just need to engage in the industry, and they will get so much out of it, and they'll help their business a great deal. So that's what I'd encourage people to do. Don't come to me necessarily. I mean, I'm an old curmudgeon. There's a lot of young guns, Charles and JD from SoFi, with their background in investment banking and consulting. They're doing so many cool things with demographics and their company. It's just fun to see the next generation come through and are just going to do some amazing things. So I don't know. I think I'm excited for it, and I would just say that engage in the industry.
Absolutely. And guys, you heard it directly from Don. Don't just come to the conference, bring delegates, bring your team.
For sure. I mean, God, who are your customers these days? They aren't guys 60 years old like me. They are the 20 somethings, 30 somethings. So bring your 20s and 30s to the conference, and right, that's who we need to be getting in the door. And they buy differently, and they're looking for different activities. You want those guys in your team to be helping you figure those things out. I know I can't. I don't Snapchat, I don't Instagram, do any of that stuff. So why the hell would I think I know how to connect with people on those platforms?
Absolutely. Well, Don, as we're reaching the end of this particular podcast, I want to thank you again for taking this time and just sharing not only your background, but definitely your insights and those nuggets of wisdom throughout the conversation. For everyone here, as you can see on screen, visit arenasports.net if you want to learn more about all their awesome programming, the FECs that they run within their locations, and just to keep their finger on the pulse. Don, are you guys ever going to expand outside of Washington, or is there any conversation or rumor about that?
Yeah, I mean, we do things kind of intentionally and strategically. So when an opportunity comes up, we would definitely not shy away from it. So I don't have any particular plans at the moment, but yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, we hope to see you all at our conference next year. Again, thanks, Don, for doing this, and we'll see everyone on the next one. Take care.